On Monday, I'm sitting in a cafe across from work in downtown Lincoln, Nebraska. My friend and colleague Gary Jones walks in, spots me, and heads over to join me for lunch. My name is Thomas Egan. To my friends, I'm just Tommy. I am 24 years old, 5 feet 7 inches tall, and I work as an accountant for a department of the Nebraska government. Gary works in the same building, but he's an it guy. Hello, Tommy. I was just teasing Jack about us winning on Friday night. The asshole is still mad, Gary says with a smirk on his face, holding up the menu. You shouldn't tease him. This is just our first victory in 4 meetings. Besides, he's one of the managers. No need to wake the beast, I answered with a smile, sipping my coffee. I've been bowling with Gary and 2 other colleagues for the past few months. We play every Friday night, competing against other teams made up mostly of government employees like us. This is a good opportunity to spend the evening, have a couple of beers, and have a bite to eat. Most importantly, it gets me out of the apartment I share with my fiancée Melissa and forces me to interact with people, which is something I've never been good at. What did you order? Gary asks me. I haven't ordered it yet. I was waiting for you. I'll have a steak sandwich, I answered. You always take it. I'll have a burger, Gary replies, beckoning the waiter over to order. After we order, Gary starts rubbing his forehead, which always gives away that something is bothering him. What's the matter? I ask. What? Gary answers. Come on, you're the worst poker player. Every time you rub your forehead, you are always worried about something. What is it this time? I ask again. Well, I don't know if it's worth talking about this. It's probably not good. Come on, Gary, talk already. Okay, on Friday after bowling, I went to a club not far from here with my friend Scott to have a drink and chat with the girls. Well, I met a girl there whom I had once dated, Tracy Chambers. Doesn't she work with your fiancé? Gary asks. Yes, they work together at a small marketing firm a few blocks from here. I didn't know you were dating Tracy, I replied. Yes, twice. The first time was a few months at the end of high school, and then 6 months during my 3rd year of college, Gary replies. Gary and I went to different schools, but the same college. Gary is a year older than me, so we didn't know each other until we started working together. Well, 3rd time lucky. What are you getting at with all this? I ask, not understanding why this bothers him. No, it's over. Some women you don't want to have a serious relationship with, but that's the case with Tracy. But for one-time sex, definitely. She just loves sex, Gary replies. Why wouldn't you want to have a relationship with her again? What happened? Did she break your heart or something? I ask. We were never serious, but let's just say she always kept her options open. What? Did she cheat on you? It's complicated. She made it clear in college that she didn't want to be tied down, that we both needed to be open to having fun with other people. We had what you might call an open relationship, Gary shares. It sounds like every young guy's dream, have sex with your girlfriend and whoever else you want. What was the problem? I answer. She had a lot more sex than me. And judging by the way she looked on Friday night, not much has changed, Gary replies. So, that's the whole problem. Do you still love her or what? I continue to ask. No, not for a relationship. Like I said, I ended up with her in college. Then what's bothering you? You look like you have something on your mind, I ask again. Well, does Tracy go clubbing with your girlfriend on Fridays? I've never met your girlfriend, but her name is Melissa, right? Yes, this is Melissa. She goes out with her colleagues on Fridays, so I joined your bowling team. I didn't want to stay home alone, I answered. You know, Tracy is one of the people Melissa goes out with, Gary asks. Yes, Tracy is now her best friend since they started working together a year ago. So I'm a little surprised that you dated Tracy. It's a small world, I answer. Yes, Lincoln is not that big. But she was never my crush or anything. She dated a bunch of guys in college. I was just one of them. Okay, is that all? I ask Gary. No, there is something else. I saw 2 other girls with Tracy on Friday night. They were all popular with the men, danced with them, and became quite intimate with the guys, if you know where I'm going with this. Gary speaks, and we are interrupted as our lunch is being served. As the waiter leaves, I start to get annoyed that Gary might be hinting at my fiancé. You don't even know Melissa, and you're going to tell me what? What do you think? Is she cheating on me? I say, my irritation is clearly visible. Tommy, you're right. I don't know if I'm talking about your fiancé. I just know there were two girls there with Tracy, a tall brunette named Jess and a petite slender blonde named Melissa. But all three danced with the guys, kissed them, and left with the guys at the same time. I don't know if they went to another club or something else. Hell, I don't even know if this is the same Melissa as yours. Gary answers a little defensively. I'm sitting here not knowing how to take this. Melissa is a petite, slender blonde, and her friends are Tracy and Jessica, as Gary described. I take my phone, open the gallery, and show him a photo of my bride. Is this the Melissa you saw at the club? I ask, showing him the phone. Yes, that's her. Sorry, Tommy, I thought you needed to know, Gary replies. What exactly did you see? What did she do? Not Tracy or Jess. What was Melissa doing while you were there? I ask more insistently. To be honest, I didn't pay much attention to her. She was with a guy. I thought that they were a couple, that he was her boyfriend. Jess and Tracy were dancing with a few guys, and my friend Scott was interested in Jess. He talked and danced with her for a bit, but she started flirting with another guy, and we moved on. Gary answers. What did you see Melissa do? Why did you think this guy was her boyfriend? I ask again. She danced only with him. I saw them hugging at the table. I also remember them kissing. Sorry, Tommy. I've been wondering if I should tell you, but if it were me, I'd want to know. Gary replies, shaking his head. I put my head in my hands. I can't believe this is happening again. Seriously, what the hell? Listen, Tommy. Once Melissa started going out with Tracy, it was almost inevitable. Tracy is not the right person for your girlfriend to hang out with. She's a bad influence on her, Gary adds. When they left, did they go home together or to another club? I don't know. We stayed at the club after they left. Did they look like they'd had enough? Usually you can tell who is going to another club and who is going home, I answer. I honestly can't say for sure, but if I had to guess, I'd say they were all heading to someone's house, not another club. But this is just my guess. I think to myself, I came home on Friday around 10 p.m. Melissa came back around 1 a.m. If Gary went to the club after bowling, she was probably heading home, back to me. Do you remember what time it was when they left? I quickly asked Gary. Oh shit. We arrived at the club around 10:30 or so, and they were already there dancing with other guys. I'd say they left just before midnight because we stayed for at least another hour, and I got home a little after 1 a.m., Gary replies. Crap. They had plenty of time to do something before Melissa returned home. Now I'm starting to wonder who this guy she was with. She usually gets home around 1 a.m. Last Friday was no exception. Do you know this guy Melissa was with? Have you seen him before? I asked Gary. No, I do not know him. The guy the tall brunette Jess was dating, I've seen him before. He studied in our college too, but he was a year or two older than me. I don't know his name, Gary replies. Thanks anyway. I really appreciate you telling me, Gary. You did the right thing by telling me, I answered in a gloomy tone. No problem. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Not sure if she's actually cheating on me or just flirting a little. Even just flirting could be enough to make me break up with her. I just need to think things through. We finished our lunch and went back to work. I'm not sure what to do next. Confront her. Maybe I should try to find out what she does on Fridays. One thing I'm definitely not going to do is accept it or just do nothing. This is not an option. I left work early because in my current mood, I couldn't concentrate on anything. But I didn't want to go home either. I needed to think about all this before talking to Melissa. There is a bar on O Street not far from work, and I decided that this would be a good place to sort out my thoughts. The bar was almost empty after lunch break, so I sat down at the back table with a beer. My thoughts turned to Melissa, the woman I planned to marry. We met in our last year of college. Melissa was a year younger than me, and we studied different subjects. But from the moment we met, I knew that she was the one for me. Melissa is a little more outgoing than me. I've often been called a nerd, but that's not entirely true. I'm just a little introverted. It's not that I'm shy, it's just that I need time to get used to people. Melissa made it easy for me, and she never had any problems communicating. She is also more impulsive than me. My reserve means I'm more likely to think before I act. Pretty much the same as what I do now. But our differences in personality are the reason we get along so well. Together, we complement each other. We moved in together when she was finishing her last year of college, and I was already working as an accountant. 6 months ago, after she started working as a marketing assistant, I proposed to her in a small restaurant in the city center. Before I met Melissa, I had only been in 2 serious relationships. The first were in my senior year of high school with a girl named Josie McIntosh. We lost our virginities the week of prom. Yes, cliché, I know. But during the summer break before college, I found out that she was cheating on me. It was especially painful because she was going to college in another state after the holidays and promised that we would have the whole summer to be together, only to find out that she's been spending more time with another guy she just met. I quickly left Josie and focused on getting ready for college, where I met my second girlfriend named Marion Roberts. We took a few classes together, so I got to know her during our first year of college. We started dating only at the beginning of our second year. We were together for more than 2 years, and I was sure that Marion was the one with whom I wanted to spend my whole life. Marion studied law and was an excellent companion, very smart and straightforward. She could be a little stubborn, but it was college, and she got along well with everyone. She had the same sense of humor as me, on the dark side. After Josie, I thought I had found my jackpot with Marion. We planned to go on a big trip to Greece after graduation, before getting jobs and moving in together. It all fell apart at the beginning of our senior year. I skipped a couple of classes to visit her at the house she shared with 2 other girls, hoping to spend time together while we had the whole place to ourselves. It turned out that Marion had the same idea, but not with me. It was much more painful than with Josie. This relationship seemed real to me, which made Marion's betrayal even more painful. I spent the rest of the year focusing on school, trying to forget her. It was only after the worst Christmas of my life that I returned to campus and met Melissa for the first time. Everything had seemed endlessly gray up to this point after spending the Christmas holidays attending my father's funeral. When I met Melissa, she changed my whole world, making it bright again. She made me feel life and hope again. Now I have to face the very real possibility that Melissa, too, is cheating on me, like Josie and Marion before her. I can't help but feel like this will bring dark clouds over me again if I let this happen. To think, over the last few months I've been dropping hints that maybe we should have a baby right after we get married, an idea that now seems absurd. I went to the bar to order another beer and my phone showed that it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Melissa and I usually take the bus home together after 5, and I'm not sure I can handle that right now. What will I say? My friend, whom you have never met, saw you dancing and kissing another guy on Friday, and so the wedding is canceled. We are breaking up. I can't help but think about my father, Mark Egan, and everything he went through. I spent my teenage and adult years deciding that I would never follow in his footsteps, that I would never be like him. I loved my father. We had a special bond that only fathers and sons have. It didn't mean that I didn't love my mother or that she didn't love me. It was just different. I was my father's son. And this is what bothers me, that my life is following in his footsteps, although I am determined not to let this happen. My father was an accountant all his life until he died at 44, during my senior year of college. And now, like him, I work as an accountant. But it's not the similarities between us that bother me. This is the type of marriage he has been with my mother, Jennifer Egan, and I am determined not to follow that path. From the outside, it looked like they had a strong, loving marriage, both professionals with a loving child, a beautiful home in the suburbs of Middle America, and Lincoln, Nebraska certainly is. Even from the inside, their marriage seemed blissful and happy. We went on fun vacations together from time to time, and I never really wanted anything growing up. Mom and Dad always got along very well and were affectionate to each other. They loved to talk to each other and almost never quarreled. On the rare occasions they did, it was quickly forgotten. They kissed, hugged, and moved on with their lives. Yes, my childhood seemed as good as anyone I knew. I had a best friend, Raymond, who has been with me since my earliest memories, and he remains my best friend to this day. The story of his father, Charlie, whom I raised as Uncle Charlie, is different from the stories of most other children's parents when I was growing up. You see, Uncle Charlie and my father have been best friends since we were kids, just like me and Raymond, I think. Uncle Charlie runs a small electrical appliance business where his son Raymond now works as a mechanic. But for as long as I can remember, I also knew that Uncle Charlie had a special relationship with my mother, a relationship that can hardly be called normal. My earliest memory of their special relationship was being woken up late at night when it was time for me to sleep. I heard my mom screaming and cursing, but somehow I knew she wasn't hurt. I was confused when I opened my bedroom door. My room was next to my parents' bedroom, and I noticed that the TV was on in the living room. Walking down the hallway, I found my father watching a show. When he saw me, I remember that he looked kind of sad. I didn't realize it at the time, but I'm sure most dads wouldn't be proud of his wife and best friend waking up his little son during noisy sex. He convinced me to sit down with him and watch TV, and I even remember him turning up the volume a little to drown out the noise coming from my parents' bedroom. My mom and Uncle Charlie always got together on Saturday nights, not every once in a while, but every Saturday night, for as long as I could remember until I left home to stay on a college campus. In fact, I'm sure they're still in touch even after my father's death. It was for this reason that after my father's funeral, I didn't say a word to my mother, not a single one. And my father didn't die from cancer or an accident. No, he committed suicide just days before Christmas, almost 2 years ago. I remember when I was little, I always looked forward to weekdays after school when I could spend time with Raymond, whether it was playing with trucks in the sandbox, learning to ride a bike, or playing basketball in the driveway. Ray always spent weekends at his mom's house. His dad, Charlie, and his mom were married for a short time, but have since divorced. Ray's mom gave Charlie custody of Ray when she met her current husband when Ray was just a few years old. I don't think Ray's new stepfather wanted someone else's child around all the time. I also remember being several years older than my first memory of Uncle Charlie and my mom spending Saturday nights together, my parents chatting and drinking with Uncle Charlie in the dining room while I watched a movie on TV. My bedtime curfew was a little later, so I had to stay up late enough that often my mom and Uncle Charlie would quietly head to the bedroom together, and my dad would join me to watch the end of the movie together. One of these nights I continued to look at my father. He seemed somewhat resigned to what was happening in their bedroom, but I still thought he was a little saddened that it was happening. When I asked directly, as children do, why Uncle Charlie and Mom were having children together, I think my father was a little alarmed. I don't think he thought I knew what they did together. Before this, if I ever asked, it was just, they're having some grown-up time. But now he knew that I understood what was going on, and he seemed a little upset about it, because even his own son was now pointing it out. I never understood why Mom slept with Uncle Charlie or why my father allowed it to happen, especially under his roof. And throughout all this time, he always remained Uncle Charlie's best friend, and there's something else that's hard for me to understand. When I was finishing elementary school, the neighborhood kids played soccer with me, Ray, and two other kids in one of our backyards. Two brothers, Rick and Jeremy, lived in the house behind ours, and that day we were playing in their backyard when I got into a fight with the older one, Rick. We just beat them, but Rick has always been an underdog. However, on this day he crossed the line. When he complained, as always, I called him names and told him to take it like a man. Well, he replied that everyone knows how my mother perceives this, that she likes to have sex with a big black guy every weekend, and that at least his dad wasn't a weak cuckold bitch like my dad. This was the first time I heard that word, cuckold. I had no idea what that meant, but I knew exactly what he said. He was humiliating my father with insults. I ran up and hit him in the face as hard as I could. I wasn't a big kid at all, maybe a little below average in height and size like other kids my age, but the anger I felt in that moment was enough to send Rick to the ground with a bloody nose. He was lucky because if I hadn't hit him, Ray would have. Ray, like his father Charlie, is tall and has a strong, athletic build. Ray has also always been good at sports, his favorites being football and basketball. Although we're the same age, Ray looks a year or two older and a good 8 inches taller. At school, the bullies soon learned to leave me alone because otherwise they would have to deal with Ray. And Ray could fight too. I saw him beat the hell out of one bully who was picking on me and one of our friends at school. He barely even broke a sweat doing it. But later that day, after a fight at my neighbor's house, Rick's parents were furious and demanded an apology. I was angry because I wanted to say what Rick said, that I had the right to hit him. But I didn't want to tell my father what everyone in our neighborhood was talking about him. I was too embarrassed. So I apologized, but then I started getting angry at my mom because, in my opinion, she was the one who caused all of this in the first place. Mom could tell there was something wrong with me and later cornered me to tell her what really happened, which I did, every damn word. My mom didn't seem to handle it very well. She went into the bedroom and cried. I didn't understand why they insulted Dad, and as far as I could tell, it was her fault. A week later, when I returned home from school one afternoon, I saw a large "for sale" sign in the yard of our house. We were moving. Luckily, it was just on the other side of town and not somewhere else in Nebraska. After we moved in, it was my mom who went to visit Uncle Charlie at his house every Saturday night. After that, he rarely came to our house on those Saturday nights. Looking back now that I'm older, it's clear that my parents cared about how they were perceived in society and that my father couldn't stand being ridiculed by all of our neighbors just because my mom wanted to have Uncle Charlie's bed. To this day, I have never asked her why. Why would she do this to a man who loves her? The man she said she loved too. Why would she slowly destroy him by sleeping with his best friend every weekend? I could see the look in my father's eyes when he was with me as a child, pretending not to listen while my mother had fun right in the hallway. I never understood it. I just knew that it made him seem depressed, that it was slowly killing him inside and ultimately leading to him committing suicide. That's why I decided to never be like him, that I would never accept it the way he did. I look at my phone again. It's almost 5 p.m. I can't handle Melissa and what she may have done right now. Her actions brought to the forefront everything I tried to hide about my parents. I need to talk to Raymond. I need to get my head in order. I texted Melissa that I was going to Ray's and would be home later. I texted Ray to see if he would be home after work. He told me he would be. Hey, Tommy, I'm a little surprised to see you on a weeknight. Something happened? Raymond asks as he lets me through the front door. Yes, you can say so. There's just something going on with me and Melissa, but I was hoping to talk to you about something else, about our parents. I answer as we both sit down in his living room. Ray just raises his eyebrows. Ray and I have avoided talking about our parents and their special relationship our entire lives to this day. Wait, do you want a beer first? I have a few in the refrigerator. That would be good. I might need it. Ray returns with 2 beers, and we sit down again. I don't know where to start. This afternoon, I was thinking about my dad and everything that happened with my mom and your dad. None of this makes any sense to me. Before, it was just something we never talked about, not with you. Not with Mom, not with Dad, not with anyone. I tried to understand why they did this, how they could do this to him. I probably don't have the answers, Tommy. I mean, I didn't know anything was going on between my dad and Aunt Jen until I was probably a lot older than you. That's when your mom started coming to visit us. On the Saturday nights after you moved in, I was at my mom's most of the time, but sometimes my mom was too busy and I would stay home and my dad would encourage me to play video games or watch a movie in the living room. room while he was talking to Aunt Jen in his room so I wouldn't interrupt them. So he never said anything about it? Did you ever ask him why my mom was visiting without my dad? Oh, I knew why she came. I could hear them. I wasn't stupid. I knew exactly what they were doing. My father never seemed to want to talk about it, so I didn't ask. Has he ever talked about my father? I mean, when Mom didn't come, just day by day. He talked to your father almost every day. As far as I could tell, they were still best friends right up until your father died. Ray answers. None of this makes any sense. I say, shrugging my shoulders. Come on, Tommy. It might not have made any sense when we were younger, but you certainly understand what they were doing now. It's damn obvious. Ray replies, shaking his head. Yes, my mother cuckolded my father with your father. But why? This is what I don't understand. Why does some guy let his wife or girlfriend have another guy? Hell, I've been offered someone's girlfriend several times. People are more twisted than you think, Tommy. Why did they ask you? I'm asking if maybe I'm a little naive or something. Because for some couples, it's their business. For a guy to watch some fit black dude sleep with their wife. I also thought about accepting the offer several times, but I always think about your parents and what happened to your father. I'd rather not be part of something like that. Are you saying that my parents wanted this? I mean, my father probably wanted this too. If he hadn't done that, I know my old man would never have slept with your mom. My father loved Uncle Mark like they were brothers. Ray replies, I'm struggling to accept that my dad might have wanted Uncle Charlie to sleep with my mom. If it upset him, why did he need it? He seemed sad and a little depressed to me every time my mom and your dad went into the bedroom. How could he want this? I asked, not expecting Ray to answer. I don't know, Tommy. Maybe your mom wanted to do it. Maybe your dad had no choice but to agree or lose her. Who knows? Still doesn't explain why, though. You said some couples like it, but it's been going on since we were kids. I bet my mom still sees your dad even now that my dad is no longer around. If this is so, this was their trick, their perversion, then why are they still doing this? I ask Ray, still a little confused. You don't want me to answer that question, do you, Tommy? Ray asks, raising his eyebrows. Yes, I know. Okay, are you sure? I'm not saying that's why our parents did it, but I think most people do it. Great, I answered Ray. I think couples who bring another guy in usually happen because the guy thinks he can't satisfy his woman. He either wants someone else to satisfy her because he can't, or because he is afraid that if he does, I don't accept that sooner or later she will leave him anyway. That's my opinion. Ray answers, I'm just sitting here and don't know how to respond to this. There are still guys who really like to watch their women have sex, but that wasn't your father. I doubt he's ever seen them do it, not once. Ray adds further. So what was the first point? That a guy forces another man to satisfy his wife because he can't. Why the hell does he want to do this? I do not understand this. I ask further. Because this guy loves his wife. I think he wants her to be happy. If he can't do the job, he finds someone else who can. Or is he afraid that if he doesn't, she'll leave him? I answer. Yes, most women will not directly tell their man that they are crap in bed. They'll just start fucking someone else instead. Ray answers. I sit down on the sofa, shaking my head. In all 3 of my relationships so far, they have all cheated on me. Then I must be complete shit. I tell Ray, feeling a little depressed. What? Are you saying Melissa is cheating on you? Ray responds with surprise. I think so, maybe. A friend from work saw her at a nightclub on Friday, dancing and kissing another guy. They left together about an hour before she returned home. I don't have any evidence that she had sex with him, but that's what it looks like. I answer solemnly. Damn, I'm so sorry, Tommy. Is that why you think about your father? Are you trying to understand why Melissa could cheat on you like your mom cheated on your old man? Yeah, something like that. I worry that I am too much like my father, but I won't put up with this crap. I just can't do it. I answer defiantly. And you shouldn't. But at least let Melissa explain herself. Maybe she's just nervous, I don't know. Besides, I'm the last person who can give relationship advice. I'm probably too much like my old man. I think I'll remain single for the rest of my life, and that might suit me. Yes, now I need to go home and see Melissa. But I have no idea what to say to her, or if I should say anything at all, until I know for sure if she's cheating on me. But even her kissing another guy might be enough for me to end it all. I would never do that to her. I don't know what to tell you, Tommy. Just don't make a decision too hastily. I always thought you and Melissa were perfect for each other, that's all. Yes, I thought so too. Okay, I'll go home. Are we still going to basketball on Saturday? Of course, I wouldn't miss it for anything. I hope things work out for you with Melissa, Tommy. I just shrug as I leave his apartment. What will I tell Melissa? My reserve tells me to take a step back, to think about everything. If I start accusing her of cheating without evidence, I will probably ruin our relationship. On the other hand, isn't kissing another guy enough? What difference does it make whether she slept with him or not? Was this a one-time mistake, or has this been happening for a long time? No, I'll keep my cards close to my chest. I need to know more before I ruin our future marriage. After being accused of cheating, if it turns out to be untrue, there is no going back. When I walked into our apartment, Melissa was preparing dinner for both of us, and looked exactly like the woman I fell in love with. Melissa is 23 years old, a year younger than me, has golden blonde hair and blue eyes, is 5'3" and very athletic, although many say she is too thin. If they saw her naked, they would know that her body was more toned than skinny. Her breasts also suit her body type and are B cups, almost bordering on C cups, which look great on her petite, slender frame. She leaned over and kissed my cheek as I walked into the kitchen to find out what was for dinner. Go take a shower, honey. Dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. I nodded in agreement and headed to the bathroom. When we sat down to dinner, I said almost nothing, letting Melissa carry on the conversation as usual. How is Raymond? You don't usually go to see him on weekdays. He is okay. We were just chatting. I thought there were Saturdays for that. Yes. We continued eating without saying a word to each other for several minutes. Do you want to watch a movie in the evening? We could cuddle on the couch, Melissa suggests, trying to get me to talk. No, I have some things to do in the office, I answer, referring to our spare bedroom, which is set up as an office. After a few more minutes of silence, Melissa spoke again. Is something wrong, Thomas? Are you mad at me about something? Melissa asks quietly. No. I'm fine, I answered without looking her in the eyes. You don't look okay. You've barely looked at me since you came home. I'm tired and I have work. Just leave it, I reply dryly. Melissa leans back, shaking her head. She knows me too well and understands my moods. I would be a bad poker player if I played against her. My best option is to not be around her to avoid saying something I'll regret later. Later that night, when we went to bed, Melissa tried to initiate sex, but I turned her down, saying I was too tired and had work on my mind. I think this is the first time I've turned down sex with her. She must have realized that there was something wrong with me, but I can't be intimate with her just for her not to know how I really feel. I can't lie to myself or to her. On Tuesday, when I got to work, I texted Gary to make sure he was coming to lunch that day. I need to ask him for a favor. As we sat down to lunch, Gary brought up something we talked about yesterday. So, Tommy, did you talk to your girlfriend last night? Did something happen? No, I kept it to myself. I just need to find out if she's with the right guy. Was he just someone she was spending the evening with, or was it something serious? I still don't know if she slept with him. Maybe you can help me with that, Gary. Hey, I'm not going to sleep with your girlfriend, if that's what you mean, Gary replies with a grin. I shake my head and chuckle a little as well, taking a bite of my steak sandwich. No, I mean, maybe you can watch her next Friday to see if she's with the same guy again, or whatever else she might be doing, and then let me know. What, I'm a detective agency now? Do you want me to write down license plates and take photographs and keep track of them? Gary laughs. Hey, maybe I should hack her phone and install spyware that will follow her every move and record everything. Gary continues laughing. No, this is not a fantasy. I just want you to go to the club as usual, and if you see them, maybe see what they're doing, who they're with, especially Melissa. Perhaps it was just luck that I met Tracy and her friends last Friday. There are too many places for them to go. I'll be bar hopping all night trying to find them. Some of these places charge admission, you know. What if I find out where they go? Can you go there to look after them? I asked. Are you sure Tracy won't be suspicious if she sees me in the same club again? Does Tracy know where you work, or that you know me? I know Melissa doesn't know you, I reply. No, I haven't talked to her since college. I didn't tell her anything last Friday either. I'm not even sure if she knew I was there. My buddy Scott would definitely like to try his luck again with that brunette. What's her name? Jess? Gary asks. Yes, this is Jess. I don't care if he tries his luck with her, but he shouldn't try anything with Melissa. I'm not trying to set her up. And don't tell him about me or Melissa, please. The fewer people who know about it, the less likely it is to backfire. Yes, okay, I can do it. And please, Gary, stay away from Melissa. Don't talk to her. If we stay together and she meets you later, which inevitably will happen, I don't want her to think that I forced my friends to spy on her. Okay, I understand. Don't flirt with beautiful ladies, but can I talk to other women, or am I strictly at work? Gary laughs again. Do what you want, just try to keep an eye on Melissa if you can. The rest of the week passed slowly. At home, I still didn't talk to Melissa much, but I tried not to show my disappointment in what she did last Friday. I still didn't want to have sex with her. She tried again on Thursday night, but I made excuses again. It was hard to concentrate and have fun bowling on Friday night. The worst part was that we played the same team we beat last week, but this time we got crushed. Jack started making fun of us from about the second frame. Gary was angry with me, suspecting that I was deliberately playing poorly. We managed it anyway and finished about half an hour earlier than usual. As we were leaving, Gary came up to me. Well, did you manage to find out where they are going this evening? You still want me to do this, right? Yeah, she said they'd go to Gravity first, that's all. I hope they're still there when you come. Okay, let's hope so. By the way, do you want me to call or write to you if I see anything? Or just call anyway? Gary asks as we approach our cars. Just text me if they are there so I know. Maybe just send updates, and if something really happens, like if Melissa goes home with another guy, then call me. Yes, sure. Okay, I'll go wash and change clothes. I hope I won't have anything to tell you today. Yes, I hope so. I think I'll find out everything before the end of the night. My phone rings, there's a message. I just got out of the shower after returning home. I think Gary is fast, but he lives near the city center, so maybe he's already in the nightclub. I checked and I was right. I just arrived, 3 girls are here. Tracy is already dancing with the guy. The other 2 are sitting alone. Well, at least the guy she was with last week isn't with her yet. Let's see if it stays that way. I reheated the leftovers from last night's dinner. If I do end up leaving Melissa, I will really miss her cooking. Halfway through my dinner, the phone rings again. Scott dancing with Jess. She's interested in him today. Tracy is talking to guy number 2. Melissa is still single. Okay, that's good news. Part of me becomes a little more hopeful. I sit down to watch a movie. It's only 9:30, and I want to be alert in case Gary texts me again or, God forbid, calls me. By 11 o'clock, my phone rings again. Scott is now kissing Jess. I think he's on it. Tracy also kisses another guy. Melissa danced with 2 guys, but didn't talk to them. She's been doing well so far. I'm happy with the update. Maybe she just had a little too much last Friday and got carried away with another guy. Perhaps there is still hope for us. It's almost midnight, and there haven't been any updates from Gary since then. Melissa usually gets home within an hour, so let's hope nothing else happens. 5 minutes later, my phone rings again. Scott just left with Jess. They're going to see him. Tracy also leaves with another guy. The guy from last week is here and talking to Melissa, but she doesn't seem interested. She leaves with Tracy too. I quickly wrote back to him. Can you check if they share a taxi or Uber with Tracy, or if she takes her own? Thank you. A minute later, my phone rings again. Melissa is in her taxi. I think she'll be home soon. Thank you, Gary. I owe you for tonight. About 10 minutes later, a taxi is parked in front of our house, and moments later, Melissa walks through the door. I'm relieved. I expected the worst tonight, but Melissa pleasantly surprised me. Are not you asleep yet? What are you watching? Melissa asks, walking up to me and kissing me on the cheek. Oh, nothing. I was about to go to bed myself. Well, just give me a few minutes to shower, and I'll join you. Maybe you'd like to have some fun tonight, Melissa asks with a slight pleading in her eyes. After barely talking or touching each other all week, I can tell she misses me. That sounds good. Hurry up, I reply, heading towards our bedroom. For the first time this week, I really want to be with Melissa. I missed her too. 20 minutes later, I'm lying on my back, staring at the ceiling as Melissa curls up next to me and falls asleep. We had sex, and I loved it. I kissed her a little more than usual before we started making love. It was like I was secretly telling her thank you for not letting me down tonight. The sex itself was normal for us. I don't do a lot of positions or vary them. I've never done that. But lying here, I remember what Ray said about why wives and girlfriends cheat, because their boyfriends or husbands don't satisfy them in bed. Instead of telling them about it, they just start looking for someone else who can give them what they need. Is this what happened to Melissa last Friday? She got hers last weekend, and now she's had enough for a while. Maybe she will cheat on me again next week or 2 weeks later when she needs it again. I start to think about myself. Am I really satisfying her? Or am I bad in bed? I was never the biggest, the toughest, or the tallest. In many of these areas, I'm probably a little below average. But I try to keep myself in shape. I walk a lot during the day, bowl on Fridays, and throw with Ray on Saturdays. I'm definitely not fat, maybe a little too skinny to be honest. Yes, I could use a little more muscle on my bones, but I've never liked going to the gym. It's the most boring thing in the world for me. So what about my performance in bed? Maybe I'm not the most expressive, or I don't try different things, different positions. But right now, I'm just glad she's apparently not cheating on me with someone else, even if she did kiss a guy last week. On Wednesday, Gary had to cancel our usual lunch because of work, so I decided to try a different cafe, which is a big change in routine for me. While standing in line, I noticed that the woman in front of me seemed familiar. When she walked up to the counter and started ordering, I realized it was Marion, my ex-girlfriend from college. After she ordered, she turned around and saw me standing behind her in line. "Oh my God, Tommy, it's so nice to see you," Marion said, hugging me. "You look good. Good to see you too, Marion." "Do you need to run, or are you going to eat here too? Do you have time to chat?" asked Marion. Yeah, sure," I replied as I placed my order. Marion chose a table in the far corner, and I followed her. Sitting at the table, Marion began a conversation. "So, Tommy, what are you doing? Where do you work?" "I work for one of the government departments here in the city center as an accountant, of course. And you?" "Oh, I'm a paralegal now, waiting to become a lawyer. I work in a small private law firm. I hope this experience will help me get a more prestigious job." "That's great. I hope it works out for you." One of the staff brought our orders, and I couldn't help but notice the large, sparkly ring on Marion's ring finger. "Are you married?" I asked her. "Engaged. Wedding next month. I'm already tired of all these preparations. I just can't wait for this to be over." "Most women love planning their weddings. You sound more like the groom," I said with a smile. "I loved it, don't get me wrong. But after 6 months of stressing over every little thing, now I just want to have the wedding and go on my honeymoon. Going somewhere special." Marion froze for a moment, looking into my eyes, then took a deep breath. "We'll go to the Greek islands. I'm so sorry, Tommy," she answered quietly. This is where we plan to go after graduating from college. We chose every place, every hotel, every attraction. Then I caught her cheating, and we broke up. Well, at least you'll finally go there. I hope you like it, I really do, I replied, trying to smile. Thank you, Tommy. It's funny, but Peter wasn't initially keen on the idea. He wanted to go to Mexico instead. What does Peter do? How did you meet? I asked, trying to change the subject. He is also a lawyer. We met in one of my classes in college. He was giving us law students advice on finding a job after graduation. Thomas, Peter is the guy you found me with. I never got the chance to apologize to you. I'm really sorry. You are a good person. I am sure you will make someone very happy, Marian answered directly, as always. Well, at least you're marrying that guy. There's probably a silver lining in that. I'm also engaged, and we're planning to get married in 6 months, although we haven't decided on a date or location yet. This is great news. I'm so happy for you. We ate our lunch in silence for a while. There was something I wanted to ask her, something I always wanted to ask. I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, Marian, but there is something I've always wanted to know. Why did I do this? I think that's the question, right? Answered Marian, always so insightful and straightforward. Well, yes. At that time, I thought we were doing well. I planned to marry you, spend my whole life with you. I didn't know you were unhappy. It took me completely by surprise when I saw you two together that day. Marian took my hand for a moment. I'm so sorry, Thomas. You deserved better than what I did to you. Much better. I thought about it a lot later, trying to understand why I did it. I was happy with you, very happy. When we were planning a trip to the Greek islands, I even secretly hoped that you would propose to me there. So why then? If you were happy, why did you do this to us? I asked her quietly. Oh God, I rehearsed 100 times what to say to you so that you would feel better and not think that I was such a bitch that I was. But I think you deserve the truth, and the truth is that I wasn't happy, not the way I wanted to be, and I acted selfishly. Marian, you just said that you were happy with me a minute ago, that you wanted to marry me. I don't understand. I felt very good with you, being in a relationship with you. When I say I was unhappy, that doesn't apply to that. Oh God, I'm sorry, Tommy, but I wasn't happy with us in bed. I looked away for a moment, shaking my head. Ray was right then. Women cheat if their boyfriends don't do well in bed, I said quietly. Don't say that, Thomas. Just, okay, do you want me to be completely honest with you? Please. Sex was always the same for us, and after a while it became terribly boring. It was like a predictable scenario every time we made love. And you never wanted to change, no matter what I tried. There was also another small problem that didn't help. I can't believe I'm telling you this, but you're a size small. This sometimes makes it difficult to have fun, and that, and our monotony, I needed more. So I was bad in bed. Is that what you're saying? You could be better, Thomas. Maybe it's worth trying to be more open to different things from time to time. Like I said, I tried to make changes in our bedroom to spice up our lives, but you never agreed to it. You never wanted to change. I nodded in response. I had already come to a similar conclusion when thinking about why Melissa might want to cheat on me too. And she's right about my desire for routine, and that includes our sex life. I think being on the autism spectrum plays a big role in this, as did my father. Sorry, Thomas, I shouldn't have said anything. Being honest doesn't always do any good. No, everything is okay. And thank you for your honesty. I appreciate it. Can I ask one more question? Something I ask you to keep private. Sure, whatever. I think my fiancé is cheating on me too, although I'm not sure yet. Do you think it's likely after 2 years of relationship that she will cheat on me too? I'm probably the worst person to ask after what I did to you. Do you want me to say yes? No, I just want you to be honest with me. Okay, then it all depends, Thomas. How much experience did she have before you met? How much experience? Well, she already had several boyfriends and slept with several other guys by the time we met towards the end of college. Then my answer would be probably yes. Perhaps she is already bored after 2 years and may be looking for something new. But that's how I felt, Thomas. However, it can be completely different. Thank you, I appreciate your honesty, I really do. Most people won't tell the truth to avoid hurting feelings. I'm glad you're a lawyer, I said with a smile. Very funny, not all lawyers are soulless. I'm really sorry, Thomas. You're a good person, and you deserve to be happy too. I hope your bride sees it. Just try to keep things fresh in the bedroom. That's my only advice. We finished lunch and promised to keep in touch, although I doubt we'll ever do that. On Thursday after work, Melissa had just left for the gym, and I decided to use the free time to play on the console when I heard a knock on our front door. Opening the door, I am surprised to see my mother standing in front of me. I have no idea why she's here. I thought I made it clear after my father's funeral that I didn't want anything to do with her anymore. Are you going to invite me in, Thomas? Mom asks quietly. I move aside to allow her into my apartment. Before she sits down, she places her bag on the dining table, and I sit opposite her. My mother's name is Jennifer Egan. She is now 45 years old, but she still looks great for her age. When I was growing up, all my friends thought she was sexy, although Ray was the only one who never said it. The fact that she slept with his father may have meant that he saw her differently. My mother is now a real estate agent and has enough money to survive after my father's death. How long are you going to continue this, Thomas? What should I continue? Oh, come on. It's been almost 2 years since your father died, and you have never called me or visited me, and you never answer my calls. You're acting like a child. It's time for you to grow up. You can't criticize me after what you did, Mom. I answered her defiantly. And what exactly do you think I did? It's clear that you blamed me for your father's suicide, and that's completely unfair. Don't play dumb, Mommy. It doesn't suit you. You've been cheating on Dad since I was a kid. Damn, I'm sure you're still sleeping with Uncle Charlie. You're just heartless, and I told you I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I respond, finally saying what I should have said almost 2 years ago. Mom turns away from me, shaking her head. I see tears welling up in her eyes, but I'm not going to feel sorry for her. She doesn't deserve this. Finally, my mom answered me. You have no idea about our relationship, about me and your father and Charlie. You only think you know. I understand it from a child's point of view. How can you think the way you think? But you are an adult now. You will get married soon. Has it ever occurred to you to talk to me, to ask about us? No, instead I need to hear from Charlie that you're asking Ray about me and your father. Maybe it was because I knew you would lie to me to hide the torment you caused your father all these years. He would still be with us today if you weren't so easy to reach. I answer angrily. I never raised you to be stupid, although you are a little autistic like your father. But even this is not an excuse. Do you seriously think that I ever tried to harm your father, my husband? The person I loved more than anything in the world, that I would somehow torture him? I know you did. I saw the look on his face every time you were busy having sex with Uncle Charlie. He looked depressed, like he was a beaten man. Thomas, his disappointment was that he was worried about how you would take what was happening. He was such a proud man, and he loved how you looked up to him. He was afraid that you wouldn't respect him because you were too young to understand what was going on, and then his pride wouldn't let him explain it to you when you got older. Well, he wouldn't feel this way if you didn't have someone else on your side, Mom. He wouldn't have to worry about what I would think then, would he? Have you ever thought about this? Were you thinking about not having sex with his best friend while your husband and son were home, or was the only thing that mattered to you was pleasure? Mom shakes her head again and looks away, taking a deep breath before answering. Thomas, it was your father who wanted me to have sex with Charlie. It was your father who spoke to Charlie to convince him to agree to this. It was your father who wanted this, don't you understand? My mom is begging me to come back. I sit for a moment. I can't believe what my mom is telling me. Why did my father want my mother to cheat on him with his best friend? This doesn't make any sense. Nonsense. Dad never wanted this to happen. As you said, he was a proud man. Why the hell did he even want his best friend to have sex with his wife every week, year after year? You just lied to me now to cover up what you did to him. I finally answered, "No, I'm not lying to you. I don't want to explain the details of our sex life. It's not something any parent should explain to their child. You'll just have to take my word for it that this is exactly what you need. Your father wanted it. I loved your father. I will always love him." Mom explains quietly. So why then? Why did he commit suicide if he always wanted to? I answer Mom. It wasn't because he hated me sleeping with Charlie. It was because he was too proud for his own good. Remember when we moved when you were still in elementary school, after you told me what the neighborhood kids were saying about him? Mom asked. Yes, that everyone knew you were sleeping with Uncle Charlie. Well, your father was upset that the neighbors knew about us. He couldn't see their faces, their accusing glances when he was in the yard or in the store. That people will talk about him, make fun of him. He was too proud of this man for that. So he immediately put the place up for sale so he wouldn't have to deal with them. It still doesn't explain why he killed himself. You were in college and you stayed on campus. I doubt you knew that someone at his work found out about me and Charlie and started telling everyone at his work. Your father quit his job instantly, but the damage was already done. The chess club even found out that he had been attending for more than 20 years. At first, he wanted to put our house up for sale and move away from Lincoln, away from everyone we'd ever known. But then he privately decided to find a simpler solution that meant we wouldn't have to leave. Mom answers quietly again, tears rolling down her cheeks. But if you hadn't slept with Uncle Charlie, none of this would have happened. You're right, none of this would have happened. I'll have to live with this for the rest of my life. To know that what I did contributed to the loss of the only man I ever loved. So why? Why do this? Why does he need this for you? I still don't understand. Mom sighs before taking a deep breath and closing her eyes for a moment before looking back at me. Okay, I'm talking to you now as a grown man, as a man who is about to get married and hopefully start his own family soon. Not like my son, okay? Mom asks me, and I nod in response. I first met your father at the beginning of my 3rd year of college. He was in his senior year. From the moment I met him, I knew he was the one for me. Before I met him, I had several boyfriends, but I didn't feel anything for them like I did for your father. Well, 6 months later, I got pregnant. Your father just graduated and got a job, so we got married and I dropped out of college to have you. Mom states, wiping tears from her face. I'm not one of your other guys. Of course you are. You really think so badly of me, don't you? I'd say it's deserved. Do you want me to keep going or not? Yes, continue. Where was I? Yes, I just gave birth to you and everything seemed fine. It's hard for me to tell you this, and I need you to be an adult about it. But your father was always worried that he couldn't please me in the bedroom. He always asked me if I had more fun with guys I'd dated before. I met him, I lied and told him no, that your father was great in bed, even though he saw right through me. He knew I was lying and would have said it. Mom declares. At the time, I couldn't understand why it bothered him, why he was so concerned about how much I liked or didn't like sex with him, and whether I was having more fun with it with guys I knew before him. Love with your father, we just got married and I just gave birth to you, and yet he was still more worried about how much I enjoyed sex than anything else. Mom continues. He kept bringing it up again and again. He was even more adamant that after giving birth, I would no longer be happy with him because of his size. I told him repeatedly that I was happy, that I enjoyed being with him, and he just wasn't sure about his size. But he argued that I should not stay with him if he could not satisfy me. I kept saying that I should find someone else who could give me more pleasure. Mom adds before taking a deep breath. I see that it is difficult for her to tell me about this. It was not long after that he first talked to me about sleeping with Charlie. He knew I liked Charlie. He was your father's best friend, his groom at our wedding. We also knew that Charlie had quite a reputation among the ladies, that women would only seek him out to have sex with him. Your father already talked to Charlie before he talked to me about it. Honestly, I was upset when I found out that he asked Charlie to have sex with me. I thought your father wanted to leave me, that he doesn't love me anymore. I stood up and poured us both a glass of water, handing it to her before sitting back down. He swore to me that he didn't want to leave me and that he loved me more than anything in the world. But he was adamant that if our marriage was to succeed, then I would need to be able to enjoy sex just as much. Did you know this? Your grandparents spent most of their adult lives sleeping in separate rooms. Your father said they were more friends and housemates than husbands, and his wife, he never saw any affection between them, never. Mom tells me when she drinks water. Is that one of the reasons you think father wanted it then? That he was afraid of ending up like his own parents?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. Another was that he was also a perfectionist. Everything had to be right, nothing could be left undone, or anything he felt wasn't good enough. To him, our sex life was so unfinished, and that he was not good enough for me. His solution was for Charlie to finish what he couldn't. Of course, I refused. There was no way I was going to have sex with our best friend just to satisfy your father's insecurities. But it was impossible to dissuade him.
He was persistent and eventually convinced me to try being with Charlie at least once to see if I really liked it or not. My father eventually wore me down. Mom answers, "So, I'm guessing you liked it then and agreed to continue dating Uncle Charlie after that." Well, I tried to tell your father that it was okay, that Charlie was no better in bed than he was. But he knew I was lying. He heard us from the living room, and just as much as I did, I don't want to enjoy this, I really couldn't help it. All the women went after Charlie for a reason. Yeah, I remember hearing you two doing it when I was a kid. My mom closes her eyes for a moment in what I'm sure is the one conversation she thought she'd never have with me. Your father was sure that this was the solution to our problem, his problem. Charlie was single and had no intention of getting married again after what Ray's mom put him through. So he decided that if I kept sleeping with Charlie, that would make me happy, Charlie would be happy, and that would make your father happy. The only thing that didn't make your father happy was that you were around. He didn't know how to handle it, tell you, or what you would think of him. The last thing he wanted was for you to be disappointed in him. So, that Christmas, you had any idea that he was going to do what he did? I asked her. No, at first he was devastated that people found out about us. That's when he quit his job and started talking about moving. I tried my best to calm him down, to tell him that it was only us that mattered, not what others thought. That I loved him, that you loved him, that we will always be there for him no matter what, that we will get through this, and that over time it will become less of a problem. So, what happened to make him change his mind and end it? I can't answer that question, but after a few days, he seemed to become much calmer about it all and stopped looking for places we could move to. He stopped talking about it to me. I just thought he had come to terms with I should have known better. Looking back now, I'm sure he had already decided to kill himself, so he was a lot calmer. He was just busy getting things straightened out. Before he did it, everything was perfect. He made sure his will was updated. He updated our bank account and house so everything was in my name only. Same with car registration and other things. Until the very end, he was more worried about looking for me than looking for himself. I will never forgive him for that. Mom states that she begins to cry quietly again. I go up to my mother and hug her to comfort her. I wish I could have talked about this almost 2 years ago, but I never gave her the chance. Even though I now have a much better understanding of my parents' relationship with Uncle Charlie and how I blamed her and Uncle Charlie for my father's death, I still never want to end up in the same place as my father. I will still never get over Melissa's betrayal the way Marion and Josie did before her. I spent the next hour with my mom, reminiscing about everything that had happened over the past 2 years until Melissa came home. Melissa was delighted that I, too, had made peace with my mother, that now she can help her plan our wedding. Later that evening, when I went to bed, I finally felt better about my life for the first time in 2 years. Even being with Melissa and then proposing to her, there was always something missing. I missed my parents, although I will never be able to get my father back. At least now I have my mother back in my life. On Friday, I sat down to lunch with Gary at our usual table. "Hey, do you want me to come see you again tonight after bowling? Let you know what's going on," Gary asks me. I think so. First, I need to find out where they plan to go. Don't worry, I already know. Scott had Jess the lucky guy all week. We already have plans to meet her friends tonight. Okay, this will be easier. Although, if you're with Scott and Jess, doesn't that mean you'll also be sitting with Tracy and Melissa? Yeah, I guess, but I'll try to get lucky with Tracy, just for the good old days. She's always been great in bed, that's for sure. It's a shame she likes to share a bed with everyone. Gary replies with a slight laugh. But you'll take one for the team, is that what I hear? I answer, chuckling. I'm a team player, Tommy, you know that. Besides, if you want me to find out how Melissa really feels, this might be your best chance. Yes, but how do I introduce you to Melissa later? She might suspect that I'm keeping an eye on her. No, I'm Tracy's ex and Scott's buddy. Even if we meet again later, everything will be fine. It won't even occur to her that I was looking after her all the time for you. And I'll try to get back into Tracy's pants anyway, so everything will be okay. Yes, you are right. If you talk to her, just don't get personal by asking questions. If they're talking about the guys she's dating, then everything is fine. I'd rather you not bring anything up about me and her unless you have to, okay? Got it, boss. Do you want me to do the same thing as last time? You know, text updates? Yes, everything is fine. But call me if she does anything bad with another guy. Certainly. Driving home from bowling, I ask myself why I didn't bother to ask Melissa to stop spending Friday nights with friends. I mean, I'd give up bowling if she asked me to. But there is a difference. I do business with the people I work with, and there is little chance that I will be lucky with a girl. On Friday nights, she goes to nightclubs with two single women whose every intention is to get lucky with random guys. This is the main reason why people go to these clubs to find someone to have sex with. Isn't she tempting fate by doing this every Friday? Or maybe that's why she's here, because she wants to be lucky like Tracy and Jess. Well, if Melissa is cheating on me, it doesn't matter, because that's where we'll be done. However, if I find out that her kiss with this guy was just a one-off mistake, then I'll ask her not to go to clubs with Tracy and Jess anymore. That I don't like the idea of guys harassing her all night. But first, I need to find out the truth, not what Melissa wants me to hear, but the real truth. I had just taken dinner out of the microwave when my phone rang for the first time this evening. We're all here, having a drink together. Tracy seems happy to see me, so she's crossing her fingers. Melissa is special. We'll keep you posted. Everything is fine, I think to myself as I start eating dinner. I hope tonight goes as smoothly as last week for Melissa. As I wash my plate after eating, my phone rings again. The guy from last week is here again. He sits with us next to Melissa. They seem friendly. Damn, I was hoping this wouldn't happen. Well, I guess that's as good a way to find out as any. I turn on the TV, but it's hard for me to concentrate on the show. Part of me wants to get dressed, go to their club, and ask Melissa what the hell she's doing sitting around talking to this guy. But that won't stop her from doing it in the future, will it? No, I need to know so she doesn't think I'll find out. This is the only way to truly know whether she will cheat on me or not. My phone is ringing again. Just got back from dancing, I couldn't be sure, but I thought I saw them kissing, or at least talking very close to each other. It's hard to say where we were from. We'll keep you posted. While last week's posts were better than I expected, this week's posts are worse. I need to start thinking about what I would do if she cheated on me today. What if she later leaves with this guy? Can I really just sit here and pretend everything is fine, waiting for her to come home after sleeping with someone else? Soon after, my phone rang again with a new message. Melissa dances with him, but not too close. Tracy said Melissa needs to be fucked real good. Sorry, Tommy. I'll ask Tracy for more information. I just rubbed my face with my hands after reading this text. Melissa must have told her friends that she was sexually frustrated with me and that I was bad in bed. Thank you, Melissa. I didn't have to wait long for Gary to send me another message. I asked Tracy and Jess if Melissa is married to the guy she's with now. She's wearing a wedding ring. They said no, but her fiancé doesn't mind her coming here to meet guys. I asked them why Melissa was still getting married then. They said she loves you. She just needs something more. That you can't give it to her. Sorry. Fuck you, Melissa, and you want something more with someone else. I won't be made a fool anymore. So what am I going to do? Should I leave? Damn it, why should I leave? She's the one lying. She can pack her damn bags and leave as soon as she gets home. I'm sitting on the couch, angry at what Melissa is doing at this very moment. About 15 long minutes pass before Gary texts me again. I think I'll be lucky with Tracy today. Scott and Jess just went home and fucked. Melissa is still here with her boyfriend, but I definitely haven't seen her kiss him yet. For now, we're just talking and dancing. It still sounds like it's just a matter of time, so I make myself a bourbon to try and calm down a little. Right now, I feel so damn helpless, unable to stop the train wreck that is coming. Another 30 minutes passed, and it was almost midnight when Gary sent me another message. I'm leaving with Tracy and going back to her house. Melissa is still here, talking to the other guy. His name is Martin. I don't know if anything will happen between them, but I think not. I replied, "Thank you, Gary." I don't know how to feel about his latest message. It may or may not be good. But now I won't know what will happen if she leaves with him or if they kiss in the club. She usually gets home in just over an hour. Will she come home early or spend the rest of her time with him? I finish the bourbon and decide to have another. Now it's a waiting game. But what will I say when she gets home? What do I know that she spent the night talking and dancing with a guy named Martin? What does it prove? Her friends seem to think she needs to get laid, but I don't know if she's followed through with it yet. Fuck it all. I hoped she would be home in a taxi soon after Gary and Tracy left, but she wasn't. She went home with that Martin guy. It's now 12:30 and still no Melissa. At 12:45, I hear a taxi pull up, and I have no idea if anything happened or not. I retreat to our bedroom before Melissa walks through the front door. While she showers, I try my best to fall asleep, hoping to put this off until I'm less angry. On Saturday morning, I go to Ray's to play basketball on the court in front of his house. I still haven't talked to Melissa about what did or didn't happen last night. I feel like a plane stuck waiting to land. I want this to end, one way or another. This unknown makes me very nervous. As Ray and I cross the road, he apologizes for telling his dad about our conversation last week. "Hey, I know my dad talked to your mom about what we discussed last week. I was just trying to get my dad's opinion, but as usual, he didn't want to discuss it. He said that this is a conversation you need to have with your mom, and that he will make sure Aunt Jenny comes and talks to you. Sorry, Tommy, I didn't mean to get you in trouble." "It's okay, Ray, and your father was right. Mom came and we talked. She explained everything. I should have discussed this with her a long time ago, but I'm glad I did." "So, are you in contact with your mother again?" "Yes, and that's great. Is it true? And what did she say? Was I right about why they brought my father in?" "Yes, you were right." "And for what reason exactly?" "I bet it's because your father loved her and wanted her to be happy." "Yes, I don't think he ever thought she would leave him. He just wanted her to be happy. Your father makes my mother very happy, as it turns out." Ray nods, passing me the basketball. "Okay, but if you think that means I'm going to play soft with you, then you're wrong," Ray states with a smile, and we begin the game. An hour later, we sit down to rest. My body aches. "Tommy, what's going on between you and Melissa? Has anything changed since last week, or are you okay?" I really don't know how to answer this question. I don't know for sure if she's cheating on me, although her friends think she will, I answered Ray. What? Are you talking to her friends now? No, one of my friends is dating one of Melissa's friends. He's been keeping an eye on them for the last few weeks and telling me what's going on. Nothing serious yet. But her friends say she needs to sleep with someone, and she spent 2 of those Fridays with the same guy. Perhaps she went home with him once or twice, or perhaps she never left at all. I just do not know. Damn, sorry, Tommy. You need to deal with this, or it will drive you crazy. One way or another, you need to find out what she thinks. Can't you just talk to her? And to say that, "Hi, honey, do you cheat on me when you go out with your friends?" Maybe you can ask her not to go to clubs anymore. I understand that girls like to dance, but her going out with friends is just an invitation to do so. Why don't you go with her, or you both find another place to go together? She loves to dance and knows that if I start walking with her, it will only be because I don't trust her. Besides, she needs to spend time with her friends. I have my bowling and basketball nights with you. I would be better off if random guys didn't try to hit on her. I will ask her to stop if I know that she is not going to cheat on me. So what now? Are you just going to keep getting information from your friend until she does something wrong? How long will it take? Your relationship will probably end sooner if you can't trust her anymore and are paranoid every time she goes out. You need to deal with this soon, Tommy. Yes, it is necessary. It's hard for me to even look her in the eyes now. I left this morning without talking to her, trying my best not to say anything to her, afraid that I would start screaming. I can't go on like this. Ray nods in agreement. I have one idea, but you're unlikely to like it, I say. What does this have to do with me? Ray answers. I know you like Melissa, and I saw her glance at you repeatedly. If she ever lusted after someone, it was you. Wait, it's not my fault. I can't help that I'm so handsome, Ray replies with a smile. Yes, but maybe you can find out if Melissa really wants to cheat on me or not. What? Are you serious? Do you want me to hit on your girlfriend to see if she'll sleep with me? You are crazy, Ray answers in bewilderment. No, maybe, but this is one way to know for sure, and I can trust you to tell me what happened or didn't happen. No, you're crazy. I like Melissa too, not because I want to sleep with her, but as your girlfriend. I was shocked when you told me you thought she was cheating on you. I didn't think she was capable of it. Besides, I'm your best friend and a good friend to her. Melissa wouldn't be stupid enough to agree to sleep with me. She should know what I'm going to tell you. I thought you always boasted that you could persuade any woman to have sex. Or were they just words? I'm sure you can tell Melissa that this will stay between you two. Think of something about how long you've wanted her, that you want to try her at least once before she marries me. Yes, I could, but I'm not sure she would believe me. What if she says no and then tells you that I tried to seduce her? How will I be your best man after this? I'll take care of that. If she stays true to me, I'll be happy to work something out. If not, it doesn't matter, there won't be a wedding. Damn it, Tommy. I can't believe you want to put me in this position. You know that no matter what happens, we're all going to feel like crap after this, right? No one will come out of this with their head held high. I understand, but I need to know, I answer. And what if she agrees? Should I come up with some weak excuse after trying so hard to persuade her? She will definitely understand that you sent me. No, if she agrees and you want, then you can go all the way. Then everything will be over between me and Melissa. Ray looks away, shaking his head as he bats the ball at his feet. Do you understand that you are actually testing her, trapping her with this? Ray answers, yes, I understand. But I wouldn't have to do this if she hadn't given me reason to suspect her of cheating. The guy she was with at the club is unlikely to tell me whether he slept with her or not, and she is probably smart enough not to make her infidelity public. I don't know what else to do. At least that's what I'll be sure of. Damn, guy. I can't believe I'm even thinking about doing this for you. I really like Melissa too, and this is such a low thing to do. Let me think about this for a moment. Talk to me this week, and I'll give you the answer, okay? Ray answers, okay, thanks, Ray. I know I'm asking a lot. We returned to Ray's apartment and I headed home. Part of me doesn't believe I'm asking Ray to do this, but I just don't know what else to do to resolve this issue without dragging it out. I was having lunch with Gary on Monday when he told me more about Melissa and her boyfriend Martin. When we finished partying on Friday night, I asked Tracy about Melissa and if she thought Melissa and Martin might have an affair, Gary said. And what did she answer? She's sure they can, but Melissa is being inaccessible. What does it mean he behaves inaccessibly? Well, a few weeks ago, they all went back to Tracy and Jess's house. I didn't know they were living together. I guess it was the first night I saw them, when they all left the club together with 3 guys. Tracy said she and Jess were in their rooms with their boyfriends, leaving Martin and Melissa alone in the living room. Tracy thought at the time that they might have hooked up, but Melissa later said they only flirted a little and nothing more, Gary replied. Damn, so she's dancing, talking and kissing with that Martin guy, and now you're telling me they were also flirting at Tracy's house. Damn it, I replied irritably. Tracy also said that Melissa had only met him a few times before that night, just dancing and talking to him at the club. She said Melissa was mad at herself for going too far that Friday night when they kissed, and that she should never have done that or gone home with her. But Tracy thinks Melissa is lying, that she wants to sleep with him but feels guilty for cheating on you. Tracy also said that every woman needs good sex from time to time, and that Melissa complained that she didn't get it at home. Sorry, Tommy, these are not my words, of course, Gary said, slightly apologizing at the end. Everything is fine. We probably won't be together for a long time. Are you seeing Tracy again? When you find out where they're going this Friday, can you let me know? And also if, in her opinion, Martin will be there. Are you planning to do something stupid, Tommy? If you are going to come and fight Martin, I must warn you that he is much bigger than you. I don't think things will go the way you want, Gary replied, looking worried. No, I'm not going to come. But can you let me know? I asked again. Certainly can. Tracy already wants to meet again. Now she remembers that I'm the best. She doesn't want others, Gary answered with a smile. Yes, I'm sure that's what it's all about, I answered, chuckling. I tried not to be a complete jerk to Melissa over the next few days, trying to be as polite as possible. I could tell she knew I was unhappy about something, but this time she didn't push me, giving me space, which I was grateful for. On Wednesday, Gary told me about Tracy and her friends' plans for Friday night. According to Tracy, Melissa doesn't want to see Martin this time because she thinks he's seriously courting her for a relationship, so they didn't tell him where they were going on Friday night. After lunch, I called Ray to see if he had made his decision. He accepted and agreed to help me, although very reluctantly. I told him where the girls were going on Friday night, so he could be there too to talk to Melissa and find out what she wanted. Ray was insistent that if he felt from Melissa that she was not interested in him, he would not persuade her further. I agreed it would be too out of character for Ray Melissa to know. On Thursday night, Melissa tried to initiate sex again, and I turned her down again, which had become routine. We'd only had sex a few times since Gary first told me about Melissa's late-night escapades about a month ago. It had been several times since that Friday when she had behaved herself. But we haven't kissed or had sex at all this week. I just can't after finding out about her flirting with Martin. Maybe this should be enough for me to break up with her and not go through Ray's persuasion, but I need to know for sure. On Friday night, as we were leaving the bowling alley, Gary asked if I wanted him to send me updates again that night as usual, and I said yes. I know Ray will be there. Maybe Gary can unknowingly give me updates on his progress. I never told Gary about Ray. He'll just think it's someone new talking to Melissa. After I got home and showered, I was eating dinner when Gary sent me the first message of the evening. I just came with Scott. The girls are already here. Melissa is talking to a new guy at another table. I haven't seen him before. It must be Ray. Maybe I'll finally find out for sure soon. Now I just have to wait and see what happens. About 30 minutes later, my phone beeped again. Melissa is still talking to the new guy. They also danced, but now they are back at their table. She is not sitting with us today. Yes, Ray probably wouldn't want to hit on Melissa in front of 4 other people. How would Melissa introduce him? As your future husband's best friend? It would be weird if they started kissing. Ray also said that he would call me when he understood what Melissa wanted that night. I guess he hasn't found out if she's interested yet. Maybe he hasn't made his move yet, who knows? As I settled down with my bourbon to watch a show on TV, my phone beeped again. Melissa kissed the new guy. I think it will be that night. Sorry, Tommy. Is there something you want me to tell her before this happens? Crap. I quickly texted Gary before he got involved. Let me know if they leave, but don't interfere. Let her do what she wants to do. Damn, Melissa. It only took Ray an hour, and you're already kissing him. I sit there shaking my head, slowly realizing that my engagement, my wedding, my relationship with Melissa is now all but over. 10 minutes later, Gary texted again. They dance slowly, their hands everywhere, and kiss again. Are you sure you want this to continue? If I don't do anything, your wedding is canceled. Are you sure, Tommy? I answered quickly. I'm sure. Let me know when they leave. Thank you, Gary. Well, at least I already know that Ray was able to get Melissa interested in cheating on me. The only question now is how far is she willing to go? I hope Ray calls soon. I need to know what's going on between them. For the next 20 minutes, I heard nothing. No texts, no calls, and I was going crazy with uncertainty and anticipation. Will my fiancé sleep with my best friend? Is Melissa really ready to do this to me? Finally, my phone beeped again. Melissa's new boyfriend just left their table. She tells Tracy and Jess that she is leaving with him. Sorry, Tommy. Thank you, Gary. That's all I needed to know. We'll talk at work, I answered him. As soon as I hit send on my message, my phone rang, and it was Ray. Hi, Raymond, I replied. Hello, Tommy. Well, you were right. Melissa really wants to cheat on you, at least with me. Yes, I know. The guy sitting with Melissa's friend Tracy is my friend from work that I told you about, but they don't know it. He is the one who updates me on what Melissa is doing. Oh, so that's why he looked at me like that all evening. He's worried about you. Does he know that I'm your best friend? No, I thought it was best to let it all play out. So what happened? Well, I don't have much time. I have to pretend to go to the toilet before I leave. But yes, Melissa agreed to go home with me that night. What do you want to do, Tommy? I can still cancel everything if you want. Have you learned enough yet? She hasn't cheated on me yet, even if we think she's ready for it. I'd rather know for sure so I don't have any regrets when it's over. Besides, be honest, do you want to take it yourself? This is a free chance for you. Honestly, yes, now I really want it. She's hot, and I really like her too. Sorry, Tommy, this is all so confusing. You still haven't told me how you managed to interest her. What did you say to her? Just saying I'm surprised to see her here wanting to meet guys and how sexy she looks doing it. She swore to me that she wasn't looking for guys, but I told her that if she's here in the club, without you, and dressed like that, she should understand that guys will hit on her, and that if she didn't want to date guys, she wouldn't come here. What did she answer? I asked quickly. At first nothing. She knew that I had caught her, and that it was true, but she would never admit it openly. Then I asked her if she really wanted to meet someone. Why didn't she think of calling me first? That I feel offended that she didn't call me. She said she didn't think I was interested because we're best friends. Then I told her about the kind of relationship my father had with your parents, and that he still has it with your mother. I said we could have the same thing. She seemed to think about it, and after a few minutes she told me she was interested, and it went from there. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to take her home now? I finally asked. Yeah, but are you okay with that? She really loves you, Tommy, even if it doesn't look like it right now. I think she just wants more from sex than what you have. That doesn't make her a bad person, Tommy. This does not mean that you cannot find some solution, like our parents. Once I take her home and sleep with her, it can't be undone. Are you sure this is what you want? Ray asks again. I'm sure. Go and have fun. Just text me when you're done, I replied. Fine. I'm sorry it turned out this way. I hope you won't hate me for this later. No, I will not. You're doing me a favor, remember? Now go, she will think that you left her if you stay longer, I replied, and we ended the conversation. I sat back in my chair, putting my hands on my face and rubbing my eyes. I still can't believe she's actually doing this. I also can't believe that I helped orchestrate this with Ray to make this happen. But if it weren't tonight with Ray, it would be another night with Martin or someone else. At least now I know, and when Raymond texts me later that it's done, it will officially be over between me and Melissa. There will be no turning back. I don't want to sit here and drink alone and wallow in my misery, so I decided to go to bed, taking my phone with me. In the morning, I will know for sure and can start planning my life without her. I hear the phone ringing in my hand. I fell asleep holding it. Sleepily, I open my eyes and see that it's almost 1 in the morning and I have 2 messages, one from Melissa and one from Ray. Melissa's message came first a few minutes ago, so I opened it. Hey Thomas, had a few drinks at Tracy's. I'll stay here overnight and see you in the morning. I hope you're not angry. Love you. What? She's going to stay all night at Ray's. I think I know what the message from Ray will say, so I open it. Done. She also wants to stay the night. You do not mind? I answer Raymond. Yes, whatever happens between you two is now up to you. She's not my girlfriend anymore. Fine. Sorry, Tommy. See you in the morning for basketball. Yes, as always, I answered my best friend. I tried to go back to sleep, but it's hard knowing that the last few years with Melissa have just faded away. As I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, I can't help but think about my parents and their relationship with Ray's father, Charlie. Knowing that it was their relationship that helped convince Melissa to cheat on me with Ray, it's just another way this whole thing was so damn messed up. From conversations with my ex-girlfriend Marion, I know that she was unhappy with our sex life, and this eventually led to her cheating on me. My first girlfriend Josie did the same thing, and now it's probably the same reason Melissa did the same thing. Will I ever find a girl who will be satisfied only with me, or, as Marion said, do I need to improve my skills? Do I need to be better, try different things, or risk it happening again and again? What if Melissa really loves me? What if her need for sexual gratification doesn't mean she loves me any less, like my mother loved my father? What if I do the unthinkable? What if Melissa and I could have the same relationship with Ray that my parents had with Uncle Charlie? No, I fought so hard not to follow in my father's footsteps, to not become like him. It doesn't matter if Melissa loves me or if letting her sleep with Ray will allow us to stay together, be happy. I cannot do it. I refuse this. I finally fell asleep for a few restless hours, waking up at 5 a.m. I got dressed and headed to Ray's house much earlier than usual for our basketball game. When I arrived about 5:30, all its lights were extinguished. I have a spare key, so I quietly opened the front door and sat down on Ray's couch. The sun had almost begun to rise, casting a faint light in the apartment. Sitting in silence, I hear sounds coming from Ray's bedroom, a mixture of bed creaks and female moans. Are they having sex right now? I wonder how many times Melissa has let Ray fuck her since they got here. Does she really think she can take a shower and wash off everything she's done in the last few hours so she can come back to me like nothing happened, to continue our relationship even though she had just spent the night having sex with my best friend? I hear screams, loud moans, and a lot of "take me" and "oh God" from Ray's bedroom. Again, I remember my childhood, waking up to the same sounds coming from my parents' bedroom, where my mother and Uncle Charlie were having sex, while my father sat quietly in the living room, as I do now. The irony is not lost on me. But unlike my father, I don't accept my fate. I don't agree with this. Soon after, Ray's bedroom becomes silent again. Looks like they're finally over, just like my relationship with Melissa ended. Everything is over. The bedroom door opens and Melissa comes out, naked and sweaty, heading to the bathroom. She flinches when she realizes I'm sitting in front of her on the couch. Her hands instinctively rise to her face, and she sighs loudly in shock. No doubt she sees the mixture of anger and disappointment written on my face as I look into her eyes and shake my head. She quickly runs into the bathroom and tears begin to stream down her face. I hear her try to say, "I'm sorry," through her tears before she walks back into the living room, still pleading with me. I slowly rise from the couch and head towards the front door, looking back at her one last time before closing the door behind me. When Melissa returns to our apartment a little later, I tell her to pack up everything she wants to take with her and leave. She desperately tries to talk to me several times, trying to somehow explain her actions, saying that she doesn't want to leave and that she still loves me, but I don't want to hear it. I leave the apartment when her parents arrive to help her move her things back home, heading to a nearby park to wait until she leaves. After Melissa texts me that she's going to see her parents, I return home. The place now seems empty. Although she took very little with her, except her things, it no longer feels like home, more like a shell of what our relationship was. Later in the day, Ray comes by to check on me. No doubt he feels guilty about last night, even though I asked him to do it, but I'm sure we'll get over it with time. "How are you holding up, Tommy?" Ray asks as we sit down on the couch. "Tired, sad, angry. I've been through so many emotions since yesterday that I'm just tired of it." "Did you talk to Melissa when she came back, or avoided her completely?" "We talked. Well, she begged me. I tried to avoid her after that, even going to the park when her parents came. I didn't want to be here and hear that I should try to make things right, that she still loved me and we could get through this. I didn't want to hear any of it." I look at Ray, shaking my head slightly. "So what, Ray? Are you here to tell me that I need to make things right with Melissa?" "No. Knowing you, it won't change anything," Ray replies, and we are silent for several minutes. I talked to my father at lunch and explained what happened. "Sorry, Tommy, but I needed to talk to him about this. I feel like shit for doing this, like it's my fault. I wanted to know how he dealt with it." "How was he able to remain friends with your father all this time?" Ray says, and I can see that he's still uncomfortable from last night. "It's not your fault, okay? I asked you to do this. It's okay, Ray. Honestly." Ray nods silently in response. "And what did your father say?" "Well, I'm not sure you want to hear this. His opinion on this is a little different from yours and mine. Don't tell me he thinks I should stay with Melissa and that the three of us should have the same relationship that our parents had with him. No, not at all. He's worried about you, Tommy. He worries that you might end up alone, unable to find anyone to love, and angry at the world. He said his biggest regret was not finding someone to love after my mom did that to him. That while he loved being with your mom, he should never have gotten used to being alone. That also worries him about me," Ray replies. "And what is the alternative for me? Staying with a woman I can't satisfy while she sleeps with other guys? No thanks. I'd rather risk being alone. My father said that your parents loved each other to the very end, but they could have divorced when you were still a child, or both would have been unhappy if he had not agreed to join them. He always regretted that he didn't find someone with whom he could have the same loving relationship that they had," Ray replies, shrugging as I look at him. "Hey, those are my dad's words," he adds. "And look where it got my father. He was so ashamed of what they did to save the marriage that he ended it when other people found out about them. I always promised myself that I wouldn't follow in his footsteps, and I won't. Not now, not ever. Yes, that's about what I told my old one. That's why he's worried. He said you are too much like your father, you are too proud, that you will be left alone because of this. Maybe, maybe not. Right now, being single seems like the best option," I reply. Ray nods back at me, and we sit in silence again for a while. "Are you going to see Melissa again?" I ask, breaking the silence. "I don't know, it's unlikely. After she saw you in the living room, I could barely get her to say a coherent sentence. She did not stop crying and scolding herself. The last thing on her mind was seeing me again. But what will happen in a week or two if she calls you?" I continue. "I really like Melissa, probably more than I should. But I'm afraid I'll feel even worse than I do now if I see her again. Besides, how will this work with me still being your best friend? Should we spend time together if I'm with Melissa? No, damn it. So I highly doubt I'll want to see her again, Ray replies. I nod at Ray before offering him a beer. I spoke with Gary over lunch on Monday. He found out from Tracy that the guy Melissa left with on Friday night was my best friend, so I explained to him that I asked Ray to see if she would cheat on me. I also asked Gary to keep it to himself. I didn't want Melissa to ever find out that I had set a trap for her, even if we didn't have a chance to get back together. I also didn't want her to think badly of Ray or for it to affect their future. It's been almost 3 months since Melissa slept with Ray, and I haven't spoken to her since she moved out. Ray and Melissa also haven't seen each other since then, and she hasn't called him since that night. It had not yet occurred to me to start thinking about meeting someone new, which is why the news Gary told me over lunch on Monday came as a shock. Hey, Tommy, Scott told me over the weekend that Melissa showed up Friday night with Jess and Tracy for the first time since you broke up, Gary said. What? Weren't you with them too? I asked in response. No. Tracy and I have decided to go our separate ways again. Most likely, she's just tired of you and wants to have someone new in her bed, I answered, laughing. Yeah, that's pretty much it, Gary answered, also chuckling. So what else did Scott say? Wait, I'm not sure I want to know. Well, here's the thing. She was there with that guy, Martin, apparently. Jess told Scott that they were now a couple. Sorry, Tommy. Hey, do me a favor. In the future, don't tell me anything about Melissa. Let her live her life. I don't need to know that. Agreed. About 3 more months passed when I ran into Melissa at the grocery store. The first thing I noticed was the shiny new ring on her ring finger. We exchanged the usual greetings and questions about how things were going. When I looked at her ring, she said she was sorry. She just got engaged to Martin. I told her not to apologize, that I hope she is happy. But hoping for her happiness was an outright lie. I miss her more than I care to admit. The fact that she has already found someone she wants to marry is difficult to accept, but also the fact that she is now engaged to the same guy she dated in clubs when we were still together is a real punch in the gut. She may have slept with Ray, but her engagement to this Martin guy after just 6 months feels like a real betrayal. Did she love me at all? Since seeing Melissa again, I've been trying to go out more to meet someone new, but my heart isn't in it. Everywhere I go in Lincoln reminds me of my time with Melissa. I have to do something to break out of this gloom. So I decided to move to a new place to start over. Was thinking about moving to Omaha to be close enough to see Mom and Ray from time to time. But in the end, I decided what the point was. If you start again, you need to do it right. I started applying for government jobs in Florida and Texas. In my mind, these were the furthest places from Nebraska that I could go without moving to places like Chicago, New York, California, or Seattle. When I got a job with the Florida state government in Tallahassee, I began my move. I'm looking forward to it, meeting new people, a new job, and a new place to live. Maybe I'll find someone special there. I promised my mom and Ray that I would keep in touch through calls and social media, so they wouldn't likely notice that I was gone, and I will return every Christmas. Goodbye, Nebraska, goodbye to my old life, and hello to everything new. Ray's posts. It's been 6 years since Thomas left Nebraska and moved to Florida. Our weekly updates with him and his mom soon became monthly, then only for birthdays and Christmas, and now stopped altogether. It's been almost 3 years since his mom and I spoke to him. He changed his phone number and did not give us a new one, and did not update his social media accounts for these 3 years. I even went to Tallahassee 2 years ago to try to find Thomas, talking to several of his former colleagues there. What I learned was that Thomas seemed happy for a while. He liked his job, he got along with people, and he lived with his new girlfriend named Joanna. However, this did not last long, and according to his colleagues, Thomas broke up with her, and he did not take it well. He then retired from government service and left Tallahassee, and no one there knows where he went or has heard from him since. This was around the same time that Aunt Jenny and I last had contact with him. I don't know where he is now or what he's doing. Aunt Jenny even tried to hire someone to look for him after the police refused because he wasn't considered missing, just estranged, as they called it. But the person she hired found out very little, only that Thomas lived in Georgia for a time after leaving Florida, but nothing else could be found about him. Then came that fateful day when Lincoln police officers showed up at Jennifer Egan's home to deliver some bad news. Her son, Thomas Egan, 31, was found dead in his South Boston apartment. They reported that he committed suicide. She has been a broken woman ever since, although my father, Charlie, and I did everything we could to support her. It's hard for me to accept, too, losing Thomas, my best friend, who I grew up with, my brother. But in the end, Thomas became what he feared most. He truly became his father's son. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. 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 Click to the next one.